Hi, this is Tony Lin. Welcome to my video. Couple days ago, I posted an interview video from the Israel vaccine chief who works on an Israel vaccine program for the Israel government. And according to this interview, he thinks Israel should give up the vaccine passport policy. If you haven't got a chance to watch, let me replay this video for you.
Vaccine passports are not really very relevant. Has Israel caught up with that fact?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's not only myself saying that in the medias, for the past few months, but other people, especially with the Omicron, where we don't see virtually any difference. There's a very narrow gap between people vaccinated and non-vaccinated. Both can get infected with the virus more or less at the same pace.
You heard that. According to the Israel vaccine chief, he saw a very little difference for the Omicron between the vaccinated people and unvaccinated people. That is why he thought the vaccine passport should be canceled. Again, let me play this video, his word, for you again.
Especially with the Omicron, where we don't see virtually any difference. There's a very narrow gap between people vaccinated and non-vaccinated.
Very little difference for the Omicron between the vaccinated and unvaccinated. Very little or virtually no difference. That is why a vaccine passport is no longer useful, and Israel is considering to cancel the vaccine passport. This is from the Israel vaccine chief. We all know that Israel is the first country to start this COVID-19 vaccination, and Israel is also the first country to start the booster and also the first country to start the second booster. So Israel has a lot of data about this COVID-19 vaccine, and according to this vaccine chief, according to his data he read, he thought he saw a very little difference between the vaccinated and unvaccinated. There you go. This is the vaccine chief from Israel. Now, let me share another news from England. This is announced by the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. He decided to abandon a vaccine passport and the mask mandate. Let me play this news for you.
This morning, the Cabinet concluded that because of the extraordinary booster campaign, together with the way the public have responded to the Plan B measures, we can return to Plan A in England and allow Plan B regulations to expire. As a result, from the start of Thursday next week, mandatory certification will end. Organisations can, of course, choose to use the NHS COVID pass voluntarily, but we will end the compulsory use of COVID status certification in England. From now on, the government is no longer asking people to work from home. And people should now speak to their employers about arrangements for returning to the office. And having looked at the data carefully, the Cabinet concluded that once regulations lapse, the government will no longer mandate the wearing of face masks anywhere.
No longer required to wearing mask anywhere, and also cancel vaccine passport regulations. This is from the British Prime Minister, and we're glad to see people actually follow the science and the data, because in Omicron outbreak, like this Israel vaccine chief said, he saw no difference from the vaccinated and unvaccinated. Hence, the vaccine passport is no longer relevant. I'm glad to see the Prime Minister from England, he also followed the science. However, just across the English Channel, there is another country, France. Their president decided to go with the vaccine passport during the Omicron outbreak. And let me share this news with you. So this is from the France24.com. I'll include the link for you. Here it says Macron's about to piss off the unvaccinated sparks outrage. According to the President Macron, he wants to implement this vaccine passport in France to piss off the unvaccinated, because if you don't show this vaccine passport, you cannot go to any public spaces, including the bus, transportation, public transportation, and bar and restaurants. I don't know, if you don't have this vaccine passport, how could you live in France? And now this news, this is because he wanted to piss off the unvaccinated. And let me read this news for you. French President Emmanuel Macron said in an interview published late Tuesday that part of his coronavirus strategy was to piss off the unvaccinated. A cutting and rather vulgar remark that prompted surprise among the public and condemnation from political rivals less than 4 months before presidential election. For any political leaders to implement public health policy, it has to be based on science and data. Just like I mentioned earlier, this vaccine chief from Israel. Based on the science and data, he saw no difference between the vaccinated and unvaccinated people. So he decided Israel should give up the vaccine passport. However, the president of the France, what he did is completely opposite. He made a public health policy not based on the science and data, based on his own preference against the unvaccinated people. I don't know what is his personal business with the unvaccinated people, but according to the science and data, there is virtually no difference between the unvaccinated and vaccinated during the Omicron outbreak. Then what's the point of the implementing the vaccine passport? And also, Mr. Macron, what he does right now is against Nuremberg Code. If you haven't heard about the Nuremberg Code, I have a video about the Nuremberg Code. You can click this link or check the links in my video description. I made a video about the Nuremberg Code. Basically, the Nuremberg Code said you cannot force anyone to take experimental drug. This is to prevent a similar crime committed 70 years ago by Nazi doctors. They forced the prisoners to take experimental drug. And after the Second World War, these Nazi doctors were put on the trial in Nuremberg, and the judge wrote the Nuremberg Code to protect the people from being forced to take experimental drug. What President Macron is doing right now is against the Nuremberg Code, and is just like the Nazi doctors. Their crimes 70 years ago, they did these crimes against humanity. I hope people can understand this history, so we won't repeat the mistake in the history over and over again. And hopefully Macron can understand whatever he does right now is crimes against the humanity. And if you agree with me, please hit the like button and share this video with more people. Thank you for watching today's video, and subscribe to my channel so you can always get the latest update on COVID-19 and the vaccine. Have an amazing day. I'll see you soon in my next video. Bye.